morning, students. This is Melissa Lewis, lecturer in economics in Shakthi PU College. Today, we are going to start with the new chapter, the chapter in microeconomics, the second chapter in microeconomics. The name of the chapter is Theory of Consumer Behavior. In this particular chapter, we are going to cover some topics. Main topics I've already displayed on the board. The first topic which we are going to study is the individual behavior. Okay, we as a consumers, we are individual to each other. So we are in this particular chapter, we are going to study the individual behavior of a consumer, the problem of choice, cardinal utility, ordinal utility, as well as how an individual is going to spend an income. Okay, all of us, we as an individual, we make money or we earn income, and how we are going to spend money, that particular thing we are going to study in this particular chapter. Coming back to your fourth point, I've mentioned something called as cardinal utility. Now, what actually this cardinal utility mean? Cardinal utility is nothing but the utility is measured in terms of numbers. I repeat, the utility is measured in terms of numbers. Now, if I have to give you some example, I can say in this way, if we consume number of apples, let me say in cardinal utility, you're going to measure, I have eaten one unit of apple, or 2 units of apple, or 3 units of apples. So here you are going to measure the number of commodity which you are going to consume. Okay, that is called as cardinal utility. The utility which can be measured in terms of numbers are called as cardinal utility. Whereas the last point which I have mentioned over here is ordinal utility. Here you cannot measure the utility in terms of numbers, but you are going to compare the utility. Okay, here you are going to compare the utility. For example, you are going to compare the satisfaction which you derive by eating mango and the satisfaction you derive by eating apple. You are going to compare the two different products over here and you are going to measure the utility. That is called as ordinal utility. I repeat, cardinal utility is something which can be measured in terms of numbers, whereas ordinal utility is something wherein you cannot measure in terms of numbers, but you can rank it. Okay, next, we were in the previous board, we were talking about something called as utility, isn't it? Now let us just understand what is actually utility. What do you actually mean by utility? Now, utility is nothing but the power or the capacity of a particular commodity to satisfy your want. I repeat, it is the power or the capacity of a particular commodity to satisfy an individual's want, an individual's desire. For example, me as a lecturer, my satisfaction or my want is being satisfied with the help of a chalk. You being a student, your need or your desire is being satisfied with the help of a pen or a book. Our utility is different, but each product or each commodity has a capacity to satisfy your and my want. That is the meaning or the definition of utility. I repeat, you're supposed to give importance to these two words, the power or capacity to satisfy an individual's want. Okay, the power of a commodity to satisfy a human want is called as utility. Now, each service or each goods has its own power to satisfy the human want. Each and every product, may it be your vehicle, may it be the chalk, the book, the pencil, the clothes, each and every goods and services has full capacity to satisfy an individual wants. Now, let's come to the next topic, that is features of utility. The first point over here is utility is subjective. Subjective is nothing but each individual has certain wants, okay, and each individual's want differs from one person to another. Now, let me say, one particular commodity can give you different level of satisfaction. For example, person who likes eating chocolate derives greater satisfaction from that of person who is not that fond of chocolates. Okay, so each commodity gives different level of satisfaction to different individual. The commodity will remain the same. Now, as I've already told you, we were talking about chocolate. The commodity is the same, but the satisfaction which an individual gets may differ. Subjective is nothing but different individual gets different level of satisfaction from a single commodity. That is called as utility is subjective. Coming back to your second point, I have written over here, utility changes from time to time. That means time to time and place to place. Let me tell you about time to time. Now, the want for an umbrella in a rainy season is greater than that of summer season. Am I right? We as an individual prefer using umbrellas in the rainy season. That means want is the same, to cover yourself, even in the summer season, even in the rainy season. But the utility will change from time to time. In the rainy season, the utility or the want of the umbrella is greater, whereas the want of the umbrella in the summer season. That is something called as time to time, and utility changes from place to place. Now, talking about white rice, people in Bangalore prefer white rice than people in Mangalore, isn't it? We people in Mangalore don't prefer much of white rice. But when we talk about white rice, people in Bangalore prefer a lot of white rice consumption. So, utility of white rice changes from place to place and time to time. Next, this is something important and which usually comes for 6 mark. Law of diminishing marginal utility. So this law of diminishing marginal utility, since it was started by Professor Gosson, it is also called as Gosson's first law. Okay. Then this particular law, that is law of diminishing marginal utility, was popularized by Alfred Marshall. Now this particular law defines that marginal utility states that each successive unit of a commodity provides lower marginal utility to the consumer. In simple language, if I have to talk to you, it is nothing but the more we consume a particular product, the lesser our satisfaction will be. For example, if we are thirsty, to quench our thirst, we drink a glass of water. In order to get a little more satisfaction, we may drink 2, 3 or 4 glasses of waters. Later, after some point of time, you will be satisfied or your thirst will be quenched with the glasses of water. But even though if you keep on drinking some more glass of water, maybe 6, 7, 8, then the additional utility which you are going to derive from this particular glass of water is going to decrease. In simple sense, while having continuous consumption of a particular product, a particular commodity, the additional satisfaction which you are going to derive from a commodity is going to decline. It is going to diminish. That is what has been stated in this particular definition. Now, the law of diminishing marginal utility is applicable based on these assumptions. I mean to say, the law of diminishing marginal utility can be applicable only if we fulfill these assumptions in our economy. The first assumption is consumption should be continuous. As I have given you an example of glass of water, if you have to drink a glass of water, your consumption should be continuous. For example, you are supposed to drink 1 glass of water, 2 glasses of water, and the consumption should go on. Okay, so the consumption should be continuous. You cannot give a break to it. The second one is the consumer income should remain constant. Now, if you are earning money, then that income should be constant. It cannot fluctuate. The third point says that the price of the commodity must be same, which is actually impossible in Indian economy. Each commodity has different price for each commodity. If I have to talk about a kg of apple, it might cost you about 70 or 60 rupees. Whereas the price for mango, it might cost you around 120 or 150 rupees, depending on the types. Okay, so the commodity must remain same, or the price of the commodity must remain same, is little bit difficult in this particular economy. Then the size of the commodity must be the same. If the size of apple is so much, then another size of apple must be the same. The third must be the same, which is highly impossible. The sizes of each product differs, the sizes of each commodity differs, but according to the law of diminishing marginal utility, according to the fourth assumption, the size must remain the same, the size must remain constant. So when you fulfill all these assumptions, maybe the income, maybe the size, maybe the price, if all these assumptions are met, only then the law of diminishing marginal utility can be applied in the Indian economy. Okay, next, this particular law is being explained with the help of the table and with the help of a diagram. Okay, so let us just go to the table first. I have drawn 3 columns. One is unit, total utility, marginal utility. When we talk about unit, this units is nothing but glass of water. Okay, these are the glasses of water which we are going to drink to quench our thirst. So let me say, when you have 1 unit of water, your total utility will be 12. When you have 2 glasses of water, your total utility will be 18. When you drink 3rd glass of water, your total utility will be 22. And when you drink 4th glass of water, your total utility will be 24. If you observe clearly the total utility part, the utility of an individual is increasing till the 3rd unit, isn't it? Let me say, the first unit of glass of water gave you 12 total utility. Then when you came to the 2nd glass of water, your utility increased to 18. When you drank 3rd glass of water, your total utility increased to 22. And when you came to 4th glass of water, that was the maximum when you derived 24 total utility. Can you observe? Later, the utility is been decreasing. The total utility which you are deriving from drinking the water, it has been decreasing. That means the more you consume the product, your marginal utility or your additional utility is going to decline, or it is going to diminish drastically. Now the 3rd column talks something about marginal utility. So marginal utility is nothing but an additional utility It is nothing but an additional utility which an individual is deriving from the consumption of glasses of water. Here there is some kind of calculations to be done. The first unit will remain the same, that is 12. What you're supposed to do with the second unit is you're going to minus 22 with 18, and then you're going to, that is where you will get the amount of 6. Then you're going to minus 24 with 22. That is where you'll get the amount of 4. Then 24 with 24, that is why you got 0. And 22 with 24, that is why you got minus 2. As usual, as I've told you from the beginning, the more product or more commodity you are going to consume continuously, the marginal utility or the additional utility is going to fall drastically. The marginal utility curve is going to reach at the negative point when you have continuous consumption of a particular product. The table is being accurately drawn in the form of a diagram. As usual, we are going to draw a graph, O x-axis, O y-axis. In the O x-axis, you are going to write something called as unit. That is a glass of water, 1, 2 until 6 I have written in the previous table. So 1 to 6 I have written the same thing over here. Then OY axis represents utility, okay, that is total utility, and marginal utility. Total utility and marginal utility is being drawn in the diagram. Now going back to the table, the units 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, for each unit there is some amount of total utility, that is 12, 18, 22, 24, 24 once again and 22. So same way you are supposed to mark on the graph, that is for 1 unit you will get, for 1 unit you are going to get 12 total utility, isn't it? So for 1 you have marked 12, then for 2 you have marked 18, for 3 you have marked 22, for 4 you have marked 24. For 5th unit you are going to get the same units, that is 24, that is why you have marked 24 once again. And for 6th unit the number is 22, that is why you have marked 22 over here. So once you mark the plots, you are supposed to draw a diagram or draw a curve on the plots. That is where you will get a curve. That means in this particular curve you are going to see that total utility is increasing at a diminishing rate, isn't it? The total utility is increasing till the point of 4. Till the point of 4, the total utility is increased. At the point of 5, the total utility remains the same or it remains constant. And once it reaches to the point of maximum, that is, once it reaches to the point of 5, next unit, the total utility is falling down. It is going to diminish. So that is why I have written over there that total utility increases at a diminishing rate, it remains constant and then falls down. Okay, or at a particular point it's going to decrease. This is something called as, this was an explanation for the total utility. Coming back to the marginal utility. Marginal utility, in the table itself you can see from the unit 1 the numbers are decreasing drastically. The 1 unit of glass gave you 12 unit of marginal utility. Then it came to 6, 4, 2, 0 and the last reached up to negative point. So the marginal utility curve falls right from the beginning and reaches to the point of negativity, that is -2. So when you consume when you consume a product continuously, the marginal utility or the additional utility is going to decline or it is going to diminish. Now the previous law, that is law of diminishing marginal utility, is completely based on cardinal utility. Cardinal utility in the sense, the things which can be utility which can be measured in terms of numbers. So under cardinal utility, law of diminishing marginal utility was introduced. Now next topic which we are going to study in this particular class is indifference curve. So indifference curve comes under ordinal utility. Okay, indifference curve comes under ordinal utility. What did I say? Ordinal utility cannot be measured in terms of numbers, but it can be compared, I said, isn't it? So indifference curve usually comes under the ordinal utility. Now let us first understand what is indifference curve. Now indifference curve is nothing but it is a combination of two goods and services which gives you same level of satisfaction. Let me say mango and banana are two different commodities, are two different goods, which is going to give you same level of satisfaction. That is what does indifference curve mean. Okay, the consumer is going to prefer those bundle of goods which gives you same level of satisfaction. Let me say 2 mangoes and 2 bananas are giving you same level of satisfaction. The level of satisfaction doesn't differ over here. That is something called as indifference curve. Let us, while talking about indifference curve, we are supposed to give importance to this particular topic which usually comes for 6 marks in your question paper. Okay, this particular topic usually comes for 6 marks, so let us just go through it. There are three features in the indifference curve. I've written IC over here. IC is nothing but indifference curve. The first feature is indifference curve slopes downwards from left to right. Okay. Now, I have drawn the diagram priorly. Okay. The way you are supposed to draw the diagram is you are supposed to draw the graph or x-axis or y-axis. In the OX-axis, I have represented banana, and the OY-axis, I have represented mango. In the previous slide, I had already told you, indifference curve is nothing but the combination of two different goods which gives you same level of satisfaction, isn't it? So here we have two different goods, banana and I have mango. So these two goods are giving me same level of satisfaction. Simple as that. Coming back to the curve, the heading, the feature itself says indifference curve slopes from left to right. And once again, indifference curve slopes downwards from left to right, isn't it? So here I've started the graph or started the diagram. Indifference curve have sloped from left to right. I see 1. This particular indifference curve is always convex to origin. Convex to origin is something like this, and concave to origin is something like this, which is not applicable in indifference curve. Indifference curve is always convex to origin. Okay, next, indifference curve, I have started from the left side and I have dragged it towards the right side. So indifference curve slopes downwards. I have not drawn it like this, isn't it? I have drawn my indifference curve from the left side, which will move towards the right side. Simple as that. Okay. Here, in order to consume more unit of banana, you are supposed to forego or sacrifice a unit of mango. Okay, I repeat, in order to consume more unit of banana, you are going to sacrifice some units of mango. That is why the curve slopes from downwards from left to right. Simple as that. Give importance to this particular topic, that is slopes downwards from left to right. The next feature which we are going to give importance is higher indifference curve gives greater level of satisfaction. I repeat, higher indifference curve gives greater level of satisfaction. Now, in simple words, if I have to talk to you, a consumer is going to prefer or a consumer is going to select among these three curves, a consumer is going to select a curve that is IC3 curve, because in this particular graph there are three curves, IC1, IC2 and IC3. So, according to the second point, a consumer is going to give more preference to those commodity which gives him greater level of satisfaction. Now, let us say we as an individual have different wants, different needs. Okay, so an individual which gives him greater level of satisfaction is going to opt for it. When we talk in terms of graph, the consumer is going to give importance to, among these three curves, the consumer is going to give importance to IC3 curve. Let me explain to you the graph thoroughly. As usual, OX-axis, OY-axis. OX-axis represents banana, OY-axis represents mango. I have drawn the three curves. IC curve 1, IC curve 2 and IC curve 3. Okay. An individual is going to consume 10 units of mango. Okay. And a consumer A derives 1 unit of, eats or consumes 1 unit of banana. Whereas a consumer is going to have 10 units of mango. Consumer B is going to have 10 units of mango and he is going to eat 2 units of banana. When we come to consumer C, he is going to have 10 units of mango and 3 units of banana. So in the graph, you can clearly see that consumer C has 10 plus 3 units. 10 mango and 3 bananas. So here he is going to drive greater satisfaction when he comes to IC3. So consumer is going to give more preference to the commodity which is giving him higher level of satisfaction. That is what is being told in the second point. Coming to the last point of the features of indifference curve. Two indifference curve will never intersect each other. In my previous diagram you might have seen, in my previous graph you might have seen, there are 3 IC curves which has never intersected each other, isn't it? Over here I have drawn 2 curves which intersects each other, and this particular thing will never happen. Indifference curve, 2 indifference curve never intersect each other. Okay. So in this particular session, we have completed 2 important topics, that is law of diminishing marginal utility, which comes under cardinal utility, and the another topic which I covered was indifference curve, which comes under ordinal utility. So these 2 topics belongs to 6-mark question, which is usually appeared in the question paper. While the previous topics, that is utility, then we studied about features of utility, all these are also important, which you are supposed to give importance to. So in today's class, we have covered topics such as meaning of utility, okay, features of utility, even these topics are important. Then I came to the law of diminishing marginal utility, which always comes for 6 marks, which has been always there in your question paper. So be prepared for that. It comes under cardinal utility, as I've already told you. The next topic and the last topic which I did for today is indifference curve. I taught you about meaning of indifference curve, features of indifference curve. There were 3 features which we are going to give importance to, and even this particular topic will come for 6 marks for sure. So we are going to give importance to these topics, and we are going to be prepared to see these questions in the question paper. We have finished the class, and I will be seeing you in the next session. Thank you.